Hi, I'm Joe from Mormon Geeks, and today we're going to talk about my least favorite Harry Potter movie slash book. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This encapsulates everything I don't like about the series, while also kind of illustrating a lot of the things I do like about the series. Now, like I said in my previous videos, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I just think that it has some problems, and I like to look at it now from the perspective of it was a big thing a few years ago, to complain about them. Plus, emphasize the good stuff in them. Alright, so let's go. So, the plot with Harry Potter 4 essentially is focused around this tournament they have called the Triwizard Tournament. And yeah, there was a big, huge, the Quidditch World Cup is in here, which illustrates one of my things, but we'll get to that in a second. So, the Triwizard Tournament is one of Rowling's things that has never appeared before in the books, will never be talked about again, comes out of nowhere, and is completely useless. Essentially, 3 different wizarding schools, Hogwarts and a couple others from around the world, get together and they hold a big Hunger Games-like tournament, where each of them chooses a champion from their school to compete in a bunch of really dangerous events. Harry, at the beginning of the story, is too young to compete in the Triwizard Tournament, so he's not going to. And that's cool. He doesn't have to be part of everything. But it turns out that he gets dragged into the tournament he gets dragged into the tournament anyway. This is where my big problem is. So the tournament focuses around this cup called the Goblet of Fire that people who want to participate in the tournament need to throw their names into. And then the couple determine one champion from each school to compete. Again, kind of like the Hunger Games. Not saying anyone stole anything here, it's just easiest comparison. Well, the thing is that somehow Harry's name comes out of it, and they say, oh, a wizard with dark magic must have manipulated this thing. Oh, okay, can we fix it? No, he's just gotta have to compete in this thing, and we have to have our 4 guys, even though the other schools are really ticked off, and they're like, oh, well, we're just gonna try to draw him out. Wait a minute. Why can't we fix the cup? Or not have Harry participate in the first place? They say somewhere that, like, Harry was chosen, so they can't redo it, and they can't change the cup again, but it's been changed before. Somebody used magic to make the cup have Harry's name pop out of it. So why can't it be fixed? What's with this? What is this cup? This is obnoxious plot device that makes no sense whatsoever. And all it does is just drag us into this long tournament that just goes on. They have to compete in 3 challenges throughout the year. And again, why? Why is this whole education system stopped for a year for this tournament? Nothing in this event makes any sense. And they're trying to kind of figure out, oh, well, who put Harry's name in the cup? And that part just gets lost in the mess. The only thing I like about the tournament is I like the fact that one of the challenges that Harry has to fight a dragon. Because the CGI dragon is really cool. But that's a CGI dragon that lasts all of, 5-10 minutes? The rest of this, we just have to keep going through this nonsense that will never have anything to do with the story again? Why? Why? So, after 2 hours of this, we end up with the last event is supposed to be this race through a hedge maze. In the book, it's a little bit more cool because there's creatures in the hedge maze that they have to deal with and fight and trick or whatever. But in the movie, it's just a hedge maze. And they run through it, and Cedric and Harry get together and like, we'll grab the cup at the same time and we'll go together. And this is actually not a plot device thing, because Rowling establishes in the beginning of the film that sometimes when wizards need to transport each other without using the teleport spell that is kind of like, you can only be a certain age to use, they use something called a port key, where everyone touches it and it takes them somewhere else. And a port key can be anything, is what they say. So this is established, I like that. So they run up and they touch the cup, and it turns out that the cup's been altered again to be a port key. Who keeps altering the stupid cup? And why is it so hard to not guard the cup? So it gets turned into a port key, and it teleports Cedric Diggory, who, by the way, is insert Twilight joke. It's played by the vampire kid from Twilight, and he does, in the movie, he's just kind of there. So they get teleported to where the plot is. The plot of the films is located at the end of this thing. And it turns out that that's where Voldemort is doing a big dark ritual to come back from the dead. And this is dark. This is hands down my favorite part of the film. Because it ties into our overall plot of, oh, Voldemort's coming back, Harry's chosen destiny, the big fight that's going to come up between Harry and Voldemort. This raises the stakes of this whole franchise. Because it goes from, oh, one silly, stupid event after another to, no, we've got a problem. There's an actual villain who's going to come and eat us all. Or whatever Voldemort ends up doing. So, this is cool. And Harry gets there, and there's a bunch of these Death Eaters, and there's Voldemort who comes back through this amazing ritual that they set up that's dark, but kind of kid-friendly, but it works. It's great. And Cedric Diggory, this character that we didn't really ever care about, dies. And it just adds some tension to the scene, I guess. I'll get to his death in a second. Harry faces off against Voldemort for the first time, and Voldemort has fixed it so that all of Harry's cute little tricks that he's learned thus far don't work. But Harry's power in this universe is that he has a power over Deus Ex Machina. So it turns out Harry has another trick, that if the wands, because Harry and Voldemort's wands are brothers, so when they connect and cast a spell at each other, they cast the reverse of the spells. So all these dead people start spewing out of Voldemort's wand to stop him. No, I don't know. I don't get it, but okay, it's how Rowling works. So Harry manages to escape, and, Cedric's ghost form or whatever says, please, take my body back to my father. Dude, he just got transported to this graveyard. His arch nemesis that's, nearly destroyed everyone in the world, or it's really vague what he really did, is back. Can you, let your body go? Okay, you're in the cemetery. Kind of go for it. Let him get out. No, we've got to drag this guy over to the cup to teleport back. And they teleport back, and this is the dumbest thing. Throughout this entire movie and book, they're all saying, you have to be careful, Harry, because people have died in the Triwizard Tournament, which is, again, why I compare it to the Hunger Games. And everyone's like, oh, this is real. These are real dangers, Harry. Oh, this is really scary, Harry. And which I'm also like, wait, the school has emphasized safety before. They said you can't go into the dark forest because there's nasty creatures in there. You can't go to a certain corridor because we have a Cerberus. This school, they nearly closed down the school when a serial killing snake was on the loose. So they're not cool with students dying every other year. But for this one time, for this one tournament, the kids might die, and they're going to keep it going. Again, what is that cup? Oh, my computer. There we go. So apparently I'm being lit by my computer right now, and the screensaver just kicked on. I'm back. So what has this cup got on these people? Has it got pictures of these people that they don't want revealed? So they're going to do whatever the cup says? And they're including killing somebody? But here's the thing. Here's what they don't get. They've just spent the whole movie saying people could die. And then they have the gall to act surprised when Cedric Diggory comes back dead. They have the gall to do this. And so everyone's like, oh no, Cedric Diggory's dead, oh no. And it's just kind of a dramatic point, and Harry comes back and he's freaked out, and Daniel Radcliffe, you get to see some of his acting ability. Well, you got to see some of it in the third movie. But here we really see it, because he is freaked out. Daniel Radcliffe is a great actor. I recommend anything that he's in. Love him to death. He can do anything with a script. But he's just freaked out. And you think this is a good place to maybe wrap up the movie? No. We've got to figure out who put Harry's name in the thing. So I mentioned I would go back and talk about the Quidditch World Cup, because at the beginning of the story we have to go to the Quidditch World Cup, which is the thing that I love about Rowling's stories, is that she builds a world. Her world building is excellent. And the Quidditch World Cup is a perfect example of this. Because you see all of these different witches and wizards from around the world interacting at this big party, and it's supposed to look like a soccer match because, you know, Rowling is British. She isn't to soccer, and soccer is cool. So soccer is an international sport. So this works. You even see witches from Salem here, which is awesome. In the movie, they have the build-up, but then they never show the World Cup, which I'm like, for time, I guess. But there's so much padding in this thing anyway. But what they do establish in this part is that there were these Death Eaters back in the day after Voldemort was destroyed or whatever. A bunch of people who worked for him got sentenced to Azkaban. And this one guy who worked for the Ministry of Magic, his son, turns out he was a Death Eater. And this whole story gets lost in telling the story about the Goblet of Fire and the stupid tournament and the angst and stuff. But anyway, so it turns out this guy's son was locked up in Azkaban. But throughout this year, we also get introduced to the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, this Mad-Eye Moody, who is one of the coolest characters and my second biggest problem with the film and the book. I interchange them because it's the same thing, really. But here's my biggest problem. We get introduced to this amazing character. He's a magic cop. His job is to stop dark wizards, and he has the greatest design of anybody in this thing. He's got this, like, magical eye. He's got a wooden leg carved to look like a dragon. He is just cool. We find out at the end that it turns out he's actually the guy's son, who's been drinking polyjuice potion to look like this magic cop so that he could try to kill Harry. But he doesn't really do much in the book, in the story, to kill Harry, except get him into the Triwizard Tournament and hope that he dies there. So he's inept. He is incredibly inept. In fact, all of Voldemort's, like, henchmen are like Captain Planet villains. They're all so inept. And this guy just emphasizes it. Plus, we got introduced to this great character, and then at the end it's like, nope, he was a fake the whole time. Turns out the guy was locked up in a trunk in the study or whatever. So he's not dead, and we get to see him a little bit later, but we never get to really know him. So it's dumb. This whole thing is dumb. Those are the major plot points of this movie are just so bad and dumb. So, I guess I should talk about what else I liked. Like I said, I love the world building. I love the Triwizard Tournament. I also like, and this is going to sound weird, I like Harry and Ron's little fight. Now, at the beginning of the movie, Ron starts getting kind of antsy around Harry because Harry has all this money and all these people like him. And Ron's just kind of like, you know, Harry's Garth to Wayne, you know. He's just kind of the sidekick. And he really is. At one point I called him one of the exposition twins between him and Hermione. And his job is basically to explain to the audience the magic world. Well, in this, he kind of gets sick of it and starts to get a little, like, ratty at Harry. And then when Harry gets into the Triwizard Tournament, he's like, oh, well, you set it up so you can have all this glory. And Harry's like, what? When have I set this thing up? I usually just fall into these things. And he's like, no, you set it up because that way you have all the glory. You could be Harry Potter. And then they get into this fight, and they're not friends for, like, a good 2 months. And I know that people are like, oh, well, you know, I've heard people complain that their fight is really girly, but it's like, this is how guys fight. Especially in, like, high school and junior high. They get just as catty as girls. And, I mean, there's even a scene in the movie where Hermione is running back and forth between Ron and Harry, and they can hear each other, but they're talking through her, and they're saying, well, tell Ron I said, well, tell Harry I said. Guys do that, too. And I love that, like, Rowling didn't pull the punches. Or she didn't make it all bro-y where they, like, punched each other. Because not all guys are, like, if they fight, they don't always go to violence. They go to being catty and ratting on each other. It was great. And they make up for it, because at one point, Ron's like, oh, wow, this is real, this is really dangerous. Which I'm like, well, wait, didn't this thing happen, like, a bunch more times beforehand? Maybe your brother saw it when they went to school. Oh, I guess we're not going to talk about that. Moving on. So the plot gets in the way. I know some people like the fact that, you know, there's the tension between Hermione and Ron, and oh, they might get together and tee, and I don't care. So that's it. That's my review of Harry Potter 4. To me, it is the weakest in the series. The Voldemort thing, awesome. The world building in the book, awesome. In the movie, hit or miss. And of course, I like Harry and Ron's little cat fight. But for the most part, all the major plot points just don't work. And I'm really glad, because after this, the movies and the books start to pick up. They tie together better. Characters don't just randomly disappear into the land of stupid. So, that's what I've got. Next week I'll be reviewing Harry Potter 5, which is basically Harry goes on a bunch of field trips. No, that's 6. This is... I don't know a clever one for this one. It's the one where Sirius Black dies. There! Spoiler alert, in case you didn't know that plot point. Anyway, so, yep. Thank you so much. If you have any recommendations for something you want us to do here at Mormon Geeks, just let us know. And I'll see you soon. Bye.
Geez, that video sure was fun. Yeah, we should totally follow them on Facebook and Twitter and on MormonGeeks.com. Yeah, and we should hit subscribe to their YouTube channel. That's a great idea. Yeah.